Hi guys, Squall here. Welcome to another Eurotruck video. I'm in the MAN TGX Euro 6, the brand new TGX, and I've got a lovely Squall Logistics livery on there, courtesy of that man Paulie, who does all my skins. I believe it's in his workshop, if you want to go and grab it. I think he put it in there. I like it. I really like this one. It's got my kind of channel colours on it, the red and the white, and I've dropped a trailer on the back, which is a Doll Panther flatbed loader, I think, and the truck itself is a 440 brake 6x2 tag lift, if I remember correctly. And we're going to haul something today. I thought we'd drive in England. Like, I hardly ever drive in England, so I thought, you know what? Let's take a haul out of England. So we're in Plymouth. If I remember, actually I need fuel, blimey. If I remember, I think that we're going to Croydon. I can't remember now. I must remember to drive on the left though. That's a given. Oh, blimey. Oh, thanks, buddy. That really helps. Thanks a lot for that. Of course, everybody piles up. This is just like England, isn't it? Look. I need to cross over there. You know what they should do? Put those yellow cross-check things on here, which is like a do not enter unless the other side is clear kind of thing. At least you can get out of the junction that way. Let's see if I can convince this blue car to let me out. Probably not, but I'll try. No, maybe the red car then. Oh, come on! Why do you have to be so aggressive? There we go. It's the only way you can be, isn't it? You're just got to force way out in this game. The AI just doesn't care. Ooh, DPD. Yeah, so let me see. The trailer obviously can carry all kinds of stuff, but generally it's quite kind of bulky things. I think we're picking up a transformer. It's like a 25-ton transformer. I didn't go anything for anything super crazy, but I just thought it'd be kind of interesting to haul it across England. So I don't know how you guys are finding the MAN. I quite like it. I think it's a very nicely spec'd truck, actually. I think there's a couple of things I don't like about it, but some of the things I do like about it, the indicators are no longer stupidly slow. You know, like what MANs were famous for. They actually now go at quite a decent turn of speed. Like the old MANs were like that. Now it actually goes at a proper rate. It's a little bit click-clacky, but, you know, I'll take it. I'll take it over what we used to have. Now the trailers are steering axles on it, which means it's a heck of a lot easier to turn into places like this. Let's put the brake on and see what we got here. Cargo market. Oh, this is it. Electro Substation. It wasn't transform, it's a substation. 24 tons. We're going to be heading down to London, which means that is probably the M4. I'd guess. That's the M4, I think. It doesn't look like we're going to go on the M25, but we will be going to London. I'm using ProMods, so it'll be like a ProMods London, not an SCS London, so it will actually look pretty decent. Where are we going here? Oh my god. Are you actually serious? Okay, that's going to be fun. Now I'm super glad that we've actually got a steering axle, because without that, I think I'd really struggle to get in here. Let's see what we got. I think we'll go forward a little bit more from there. Blimey. If there was anything in this corner, we'd have no chance. Let's just coax it round. Oh, I've just turned the wrong way. Why did I just do that? My brain just went, no! Keep it turning. See if we can straighten that off now. Let's go back to the frontal view. Yeah, steering axles make such a difference in terms of manoeuvrability. I'm hoping they'll accept that. There we go. It's not straight, but hey. Right, engine off. Let's get Jeff to load it up. I don't know where that substation's coming from, or how they're going to load it on the side there, or... But, you know, Jeff's going to work his magic. And, wow, that's actually quite wide. Okay, that's going to be interesting. I've got to put the beacon on at the back, because that... Okay. Should we try that again? There we go. Remember, it's only a 440 brake, so 25 tons makes it quite interesting. But it should be more than enough. It's not particularly hilly between Plymouth and London. South of England's not that hilly. Tends to be the west side that gets more hilly. Is that box gonna fit through here? Oh my life, that... I'm not so sure about this. Oh boy, that's close. Whoa, there's like inches on either side. Oh my life. Right, okay, now I need to find a fuel station, so let's quickly bring up the map. See if we can figure out where we can do that, because I don't really have much range at the moment. Also, we'll look at our journey. Okay, there's a fuel station here, right. So we'll leave Plymouth. So Plymouth is down in Cornwall, down the bottom section, this kind of pointy-leggedy bit of England. This is Plymouth down here. We're going to come out of here. And we won't bother with that fuel station. We'll just head straight out. We'll pull out the services, grab some fuel, take the A38 up to just south of Cardiff. So that's actually Wales, though. This is the Severn Bridge. What we'll do is we're going to head east down the M4 and head straight into London. A302, 202, and it's just next to Tesco, and there's Squirrel Logistics as well. So I've repaired the truck up, so we're all good on that score. As long as we get some fuel before we run out, we should be fine. So one of the things okay, let's talk about what I like and don't like about the TGX Euro 6. I don't like the radiator, like the air intake section. I don't like it. It's like, I tried to make it look as good as I can with this truck design, on the basis that I just want to hide it, really. I'm not a fan of the kind of scooped air intake at the front, where it just looks like it's got a gaping mouth. So it kind of looks like it's travelling along with its mouth open, like a bit goneless, you know. So I'm not a fan of that design on the MAN. But the rest of the exterior is pretty nice, if a bit conservative. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. MAN designs are very conservative. That applies to their trucks, their buses, pretty much everything. They don't do striking designs, not by a long shot. They tend to just go for functional, you could use the word bland in places. I don't think it's particularly bland, but if you look at the headlight design and all the rest of it, it's not exactly exciting if you think about what, you know, Scania, DAF and Volvo do. It's just a little bit down the middle of the road and not very next gen. Not very, you know, like, take people like Audi and what they're doing with the indicator lights and the, you know, all the rest of it. They're kind of embracing new technology and doing new things. And, you know, Volvo's got its kind of LED strip V lights on the eyes. MAN's just basically just gone, yeah, that's nice. We'll just put our LED bulbs exactly where we had our halogen tungsten bulbs, you know. You're like, okay, right, I see how this is. Now, internally it's not bad. It's got like a black and chrome interior, which, you know, I'm a fan of black and chrome interiors. I think they're very nice. They suit me well. Other than that, you know, it's nothing to sort of phone home about. There's nothing in here that just makes you go, woof, look at that, that's nice. It's just, it is what it is. It's functional. The dash is where I have the biggest problem with the MAN. I don't like the layout of the dash. Now, let's talk about that. The RPM gauge and the speedometer, right? The writing is way too small. They have, if you look at the RPM gauge, right? Look at how much space there is there to write bigger numbers. I mean, okay, you've got this green band and this red band and this little red needle that kind of floats around. But why so small? Is everybody in Germany just got amazing eyesight or something? Even the clock is difficult to read. Never mind the clock and the temperature gauge. Like, everything is difficult to read. But most worrying is the speed. That speed is very hard to read. And the numbers that are in red there are even harder to read. Why? Why is there a centre section with nothing on it apart from these little, like, the parking light there? See that? That entire centre section could have been a digital display. Like the Mercedes-Benz do with their trucks and cars, right? They could have had a digital speed right there. Nice big clear number. But no, they didn't do any of that. They've just made these really tiny numbers. You know, 837, 2368 on the tacho. The top section there is a digital bit. The numbers there are way too small. So if I press the I key, it's like... You can read it at a push, but if you're driving along, you don't want to be sort of struggling to look at this stuff. You want to be able to glance down and very quickly see a nice big number. Usually the speed. And also, if you're a fan of the analog dials, if the numbers on that were bigger, you'd be able to see it clearly as well. So I'm not a fan of the dash at all on the MAN. That is the worst thing. And from a driver's point of view, you know, if I was spending my cash on a truck to drive every day, I wouldn't spend it on this just because of that dash. Which is quite damning, really, isn't it, if you think about it? Oh, this is not great. Come on! You've got to do what I do and just push your way out. Otherwise you'll be sat here all day. Don't expect anybody to move over. This is the AI. The artificially stupid. Okay, this is not going to happen. And I don't want to sit here all day. So I'm going to take matters into my own hands. Oh, thank you very much. Yep, I'm a hazard. And we're out of there. So long, suckers! Scumbag squirrel. But apart from that, like, everything else about the interior is pretty nice. The controls on the wheel, you know, if I could click them, that would be nice. But everything else inside is pretty well modelled, pretty well done. It doesn't look cheap or plasticky. It could be nicer. They could offer a nicer trim. You know, like what Scania does with its kind of exact line, which is like nice leather stitched wheel and, you know, an upgraded dash and stuff. They could have done that, but I don't think they've got a model for that. Like I say, MAN just go for workhorses. They don't tend to aim at anything else but just solid workhorses. That's their style. Fair enough. But if you're going to go for functional, personally, I would have done something better with that entire console. I mean, even these days, the trend is towards digital dashboards, isn't it? Which is... Digital dashboards are interesting. They're starting to become really popular on cars now. Where you just effectively have a glass panel, just a display, and it's all computerized. Oh, the entire display is just digital. Which allows you all kinds of configuration options. Like if you was to look at like a modern car now, like a Merc or something, their digital displays allows you to have, like, the sat-nav is built into that display, and then the speeds and stuff are overlaid on top of it, and you can have it in various layouts, so you can kind of configure it how you want it, which is really nice in that sense. One of the things that I don't like about the trend towards digital is they've kind of looked at what Tesla have done. You know, if you look at the inside of a Tesla, it's basically like you get in and there's nothing but a giant screen there. and that's it. There's like no control knobs anywhere at all. So if you want to adjust the air conditioning, you've got to get in and you've got to start tapping around on the iPad just to adjust the temperature in your car. Like, you can't just lean over and go, it's too warm in here, just turn that dial down. No, you've got to go like menu, air conditioning, you know, slide some slider around. It's just annoying. And that's the one thing I don't like about the current trend. All the other manufacturers have started going, oh, that's a really cool idea. Tesla are doing that. We should do that. No, you shouldn't do that. It's really annoying. You should... I'm fine with changing the dash and just making it all nice and digital. Yep, that's great. Nice and clean. Love that. But don't remove the buttons and the switches. Ergonomically, they make a lot of sense and they're very convenient, and people learn where they are and can reach over while they're concentrating on driving and switch them and turn them, and that's what they're designed to do, provide nice, quick, easy access to control things about the car or the truck. And I very much dislike the trend for removing them. I kind of feel like what's going to happen is we're going to go through this period now of a few years where they get removed, because let's face it, if they remove all those, it makes it cheaper, doesn't it? That's the real reason they're doing it. Like Tesla are doing it to simplify things, but it also makes it a lot cheaper because you don't have to wire all this stuff in, have all these control switches, you know, design the consoles around it, you know. It's all nice and convenient for manufacturing as well. So it brings the cost down. Not that the cost of the price of the car or the truck will change, that will stay the same of course, but that means they can make them cheaply. But I don't like it. I will... All the cars I buy, I will make an effort to buy them with controls and switches and dials. Because I just think that makes more sense to me. Yeah, so that's my little rant over. But in terms of the Abbey at the moment, they've very much gone old school. I mean, if you look at the sat-nav there, that's even got like the 1 to 6, you know, programmable radio stations underneath, and your nav and your map. So like that's still proper old school down there. What's this guy doing? One thing I don't like still about driving in England in this game is the left lane drop-off. I'm sure we... Oh, it's just changed the speed limit on me. The left lane drop-off is real. And by that I mean lane 1, which is the lane I'm in right now. Lane 1 does not... Like in real life, lane 1 continues. And when you get to a junction. And then you'll have a separate slip road which will branch off if you want to exit the junction. But they didn't do that when they originally made Eurotruck. And if you remember, like England and Germany, or the UK and Germany, were some of the original places they built. So these are still some of the oldest places in Eurotruck. And for some inexplicable reason, they decided that whenever they get to a junction, this lane will leave the motorway and be the junction. And therefore you have to jump into the middle lane every time you come to a junction. And it's deeply annoying and doesn't happen in real life. I never understand what made them do that. But anyway, it is what it is. They're redoing Germany. We know that much, but that's mostly because Mandelsoft, who used to be, well, he kind of still is a ProMods, but he mostly left the ProMods team and went working at SCS, and he's now, one of his things he's always wanted to do was redo Germany, so he's managed to convince them, we should redo Germany. So they're kind of letting him do that, as well as do other things. But what we don't have, I don't think, is anybody saying, let's redo the UK. So we'll forever be stuck, I fear, with the UK and the lane 1 drop-off. Until they actually get round to changing it, who knows. Speaking of which, map expansions. Now, they've hinted at what they're going to do in Eurotruck in terms of the next map DLC. But personally, I would like to see Spain and Portugal get done. I don't think that's what they're going to do next. I think they're going to carry on going east, as it were. But I feel that Spain and Portugal, particularly Portugal, could do with a lot of love. I like driving around Spain and Portugal. It's just kind of interesting down there. So I kind of hope that they're going to do that. But I kind of fear... I suspect what they'll do is go east and go north. I think they'll keep going that way. They're kind of going into the Baltic, like towards Russia, and then obviously Norway and Sweden, and Denmark. Well, mostly Norway and Sweden. Actually, not Denmark. Norway and Sweden need to go north all the way up to the coast. So I suspect that will be on the list as well. And therefore Spain and Portugal, I don't think is a focus at the moment, but I'd really like to see that. All the better for driving though. There's lots of lots of places you can drive in this game. I was actually looking at the map with... There we go, here's a lane drop off, I think. Yeah, there we go. So, South Wales, Cardiff, London and Bristol, so I need to now move over. I was actually looking at the map as it stands with Pro Mods, when you put Pro Mods in there, and it is so, like, it's huge. It's so big. There's so many, I don't know how many, but there's like hundreds of thousands of kilometers of road, I think. It's crazy how much you can drive in this game. Wait a minute. It wants me to get off here. Surely not. Oh no, next junction, there we go. This bit here. That's the westbound on the M4 that goes to Wales. Oh, alright. Okay, I see how this is. Some crazy junction design we've got going on here. And this is the eastbound M4. Let's turn some speed down. Let's slow it down, but there we go. Under 50, I think, is the right... Yeah, even that's a little bit too quick. Alright, London, Bristol... Let's move over. Well, yeah, the amount of road that you can travel on in this game is pretty cool. Just wondering what these... Sorry, I'm just concentrating on what these cars are going to do. I've got a feeling they're going to jump over, but... There we go. That truck, it feels like I'm catching him up, but I'm only doing 70 k's at the moment, and I'm catching him up at quite a rate here, which is a bit weird. I don't really want to overtake him because it's quite a wide load, to be honest. And sometimes when you go to overtake, they suddenly speed up on you, as they do in real life, which is one of my personal hates. I don't recall seeing that giant water tower. I don't go down the M4 very often, but next time I do, I must have a look at that. There you go, he's suddenly sped up now. I think he was conforming to a different speed limit. Well, I know I've said this before, but if it wasn't for mods, I think this game would have died a long time ago. A long time ago. Mod support was one of the greatest decisions they ever made for this game, because it's kept the world expanding, and it's kept the real trucks and trailers in the game before SCS were actually able to negotiate contracts that would allow them to put it in. Because obviously, you know, anybody can make a mod of a truck or a trailer or something and slap it in a game, unless it's a commercial thing like SCS, where they're selling this product. So if they want to put something in there that's actually a real thing, then they have to speak to the manufacturer and say, is it okay if we put this in the game? And of course the manufacturer then turns around and starts talking about, well, how much are you going to pay us? And at which point SCS say, well, nothing really. And they're like, what? You imagine talking to somebody like Volvo about putting a Volvo truck into the game, and the Volvo departments are used to dealing with people who license their brand. Like, when SCS say to them, we don't want to pay you anything, it's a bit of a shock for them. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they've negotiated fees these days. Who knows? Maybe I would imagine they would have by now. But in the early days, that's how it was. With maps, you don't tend to get that problem. You can put stuff in a map, no problem at all. You don't need a license for that. But when it comes to trucks and trailers, you do. And also, when they do put, you know, when a manufacturer does agree to put a truck or a trailer in the game, well, of course, they want it to be accurate, don't they? So a mod author can build something based on pictures and photographs that he's taken, whereas if you're going to do it for real, SCS has to go down there and start measuring things up and actually make it accurate. Otherwise the manufacturer isn't going to be happy. But yeah, in terms of mods, I'm sort of wandering off topic here. In terms of mods, I think mod authors have kept this game going for many years now and continue to do so. However, on the American Truck Sim side, I have noticed a distinct... it's weird, really. I would have thought that American Truck would have had at least as many kind of active modders as the Euro Truck world has, but it just doesn't seem to be the case. You've got your map authors that are busy doing stuff, and there's a few trucks in the game, a few truck mods, but, and you know, some trailers have been added, but there's just nothing else. It doesn't feel like there is no pro mods equivalent in the American truck world. Let's put it that way. And I remember when ATS came out, what's that, over 2 years ago, I remember one of the pro mods goals was to basically build an ATS pro mods team. Like, the team that they had didn't want to work on ATS. They were all European guys that wanted to build European maps. So their plan was to try and, you know, get hold of some American modders who were very keen on doing American mapping and effectively teach them the pro mods way of doing things and create the pro mods US. But in the 2 years since ATS was released, that's just not happened. And I doubt it's because of pro mods. I think it's probably more to do with a lack of people wanting to do it over in the States, which I find amazing, really, because I mean, it was like 400 million people in the States. Like, it's a big place. I would have thought there would have been plenty of people wanting to do it, but apparently not. You start looking at like coast to coast mods and Canadream and stuff, and you know, I don't, particularly with coast to coast, I've never really liked the style of the way they do things. They kind of build giant roads with not much vegetation, and then they'll take effectively a city from somewhere else, copy it, paste it into the map, and call it a different city, which is not, it's not map modding. That's just giving people somewhere else random to drive. But when you get there, you suddenly think, hang on a minute, this looks a bit familiar. Well, it is. It's a copy of another city. I think we're okay to stay in this lane for now. We want the M4 into London, though. That's where you turn off if you want M25. If you want to go Gatwick or Heathrow, you get on the M25, which is basically like a circle around London. For those of you not familiar with England. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I don't think ATS is going to suddenly pick up now. I think it's as it is, which is a shame, really. I kind of feel that the only solution is to combine ATS and ETS into one game. I kind of feel like that's the end game. That's where they should be aiming. Instead of having two separate games, why not just put the two things together and, you know, just connect them with a massive ferry if you have to, but it doesn't appear to be on the cards, does it? Right, we need to move over. Oh, bro, dude, you need to go left, I need to go right. Why don't you just back off? Oh my god. Making good pace. What have we got left? 24 Ks, that's not so bad. I need to start backing off here, I think, as we enter London. I was going to say this, so that speed camera that I was about to say to you, this road in real life, I've been down quite a few times, and it does have a fair amount of speed cameras, as does everywhere else in London. The M25 is just, it's what they call a smart motorway. I hate this term. They call it a smart motorway. What that means is, they've got rid of there used to be a lane on the left for the hard shoulder, so there used to be 3 lanes, and then the lane on the left was what they call a hard shoulder. So it was a lane that you're not allowed to drive in unless you have an emergency. So if your car breaks down, you pull over into that lane, and there was like a phone box every mile, So you were never more than half a mile away from a phone box. And that's what it was for. Obviously, as the amount of cars on the road has increased, so has the need for more lanes. And so the cheapest way to do it is to commission the hard shoulder lane into an actual lane, which they've done. And so there's now 4 lanes and no hard shoulder, and over the top they've basically put cameras. Which way are we going here? Am I keeping left? I think I am. They put speed cameras and signs which have a speed limit on them, or variable speed limit. So normally it's 70 miles an hour on the motorway, but when there's a lot of traffic, they'll bring the speed down, because studies show that if you bring the speed limit down, the traffic flows better. So they'll bring it down to 60 or 50, or if there's a problem like congestion, they'll bring it down to 40, and they'll enforce it with the cameras. And the reason it's called a smart motorway is because it can adjust its speed limit like that. And also because if somebody does break down, what's supposed to happen? So imagine your car suddenly breaks down. What's supposed to happen is you don't have a hard shoulder now, so you basically you stay in that lane 1. Dude, I'm going left. Whether you like it or not, I'm going left. You stay in lane 1 and stop. I mean, what are your chances of somebody slamming into the back of you? So say you blow your tyre or whatever, like a truck blows its tyre, it has to stop in lane 1 and hope that everything behind in lane 1 doesn't hit it. And then at some point, the constantly monitored cameras will realise that there's a problem in lane 1. They'll then close the lane on the overhead displays, so instead of it saying, you know, nothing or a speed limit, it will literally have a red X over that lane. And then that becomes a hard shoulder lane. So that's what they call a smart motorway. Now the principle mostly works because, you know, vehicles have become more reliable, so they tend not to break down as much now. But I can't help but feel that's not terribly safe. But it does benefit everybody because we've got an extra lane to drive on. They've managed to do that with almost all of the M25 now, which is it's taken a few years. It's been a real pain, but it's mostly there now. I'm just going to take both lanes up here. I don't care. I tell you what, Promenade did a cracking job on this inside of London. I would have liked them to do a bit more, but what they have done is quite nice. See, in the UK, all the road signs that have a green background and yellow writing like this, they are, if you like, town routes, local routes. And all the blue ones are the motorways. So blue motorway, green is like your towns and stuff. So they actually do look like this in real life. And the font that font there that they use, if I remember, it was I think it was a bloke and a lady who designed that back in the 50s or something. It became the standard for all of the UK. And they came up with that font and an exact size of the lettering, like everything is tightly controlled, like the lettering, the font, the size of it all on a motorway, like everything is scripted to the millimeter how big it has to be. And that's why the signs are so consistent. And you've actually got those people to thank for it. Okay, it's a stall. Annoyingly, because of the mirror, I can't actually see whether it's going to change or not. I'll just work on the basis that when everybody else starts moving like that, we can move. So yeah, this truck holds pretty well. Like, it's not... The gearing is quite nice. The way that it hauls is quite nice. It's a pleasant driving experience. I'm just not, as I said before, just not keen on some aspects of its design. I kind of feel like what MAN need to do is perhaps go and speak to some Italian designers, you know? Get a little, like, and try and meet somewhere in the middle. I think Italian designers would be way too kind of, like, they just couldn't deal with it. They'd be like, what? We're not doing that? That's way too adventurous, you know? we're too conservative for that kind of design. But I think they could do something in the middle. They could take, like, an Italian design, you know, and kind of temper it down to something that they're comfortable with, and what they'd end up with is something quite nice. There's London. How's the Parliament, Big Ben, Millennium Wheel, the Shard. You can even see the Pringle over there. It's all there. Or the Gherkin, sorry. Come on, lights, change before I get there. Don't be a scumbag. Don't be a scumbag. You scumbag. That's a train station above us there. Ring Road, Peckham, Elephant and Castle. That's the great thing about London. It has some amazingly hilarious names, like place names. Like Elephant and Castle. Like, really? Just think about that for a second. Elephant and Castle. Who the heck came up with that name? What does that even mean? They're two things that don't belong together, you know? Right, left turn into here. And you get nice places like Pudding Lane. Pudding Lane, fantastic. Right, let's turn the beacon off. This is quite a wide construction area, so that's quite nice. Alright, let's swing it around here. Get her parked up. Alright, that's straight-ish. Okay. Let's get a bit more revs. Oh, turn around, turn around. Okay, if we turn it in now, it should straighten itself out. Like that. Beautiful! Okay, engine off. Yeah, nice. Let's deliver. Excelente! No damage, no penalties, 24 grand. Look at this, guys. Look how close I am to level 100. 99, almost and a half. That'll do. Let's get my truck away from here. So yeah, that is the MAN TGX Euro 6. And if you want that skin, that livery for it, the Squirrel Logistics one, it'll be in Paulie's workshop on Steam. That was a fun little journey. Talked some nonsense, drove some miles. Used half a tank of fuel and had some fun. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, guys. Take care. Until the next one. Happy trucking.